System of rice intensification. Module 3. Introduction of SRI in India and adoptions of the practices of SRI cultivation. At the end of this module, we will understand Introduction of SRI in India, Nursery and seedlings, water management in SRI, intercultivation with weeder, more organic nutrients in preference to mineral fertilizer. Lesson 1. Introduction of SRI in India. SRI was introduced in India in 2000 when researchers at the Tamil Nadu Agriculture University (TNAU) initiated experiments involving SRI principles in a collaborative project on growing rice with less water. TNAU results in 2000-2002 were followed by evaluations on farmers' fields. In 2003, a package of SRI practices was evolved and tested in 200 farmers' fields through a state government initiative to compare the performance of SRI and conventional cultivation in the Kaveri and Tamiraparani river basins. The results showed an average increase in grain yield by 1.5 tons per hectare in both basins with reduced input requirements, and even an 8% reduction in labor needed per hectare. This evaluation provided a basis for officially recommending SRI adoption to farmers in 2004. Concurrently, the State Agricultural University in Andhra Pradesh, Acharya N.G. Ranga Agricultural University, ANGRAU, introduced SRI in farmers' fields during Kharif season 2003. After Angrao students saw SRI being implemented in Sri Lanka, comparison trials were conducted in all districts of the state. These results generated nationwide interest, as they showed average yield increases of 2.5 tons per hectare, 50% over conventional irrigated rice cultivation. Grain yields in SRI recorded in experiments across India. Lesson 2. Nursery and seedlings. The use of younger seedlings, 8 to 15 days old, 2.5 leaf stage, in SRI is a distinct departure from conventional cultivation where seedlings of 25 days and more are used. Recommended seedling age for transplanting in conventional cultivation is usually 1 week per month of duration of the crop, seed to seed, and thus for 105 days short duration rice, 25 days old seedlings, and for 135 days medium duration rice, 32 days old seedlings are recommended. The duration of seedling age will increase during winter season, 18 to 20 days, depending on the prevailing temperatures. Proper care has to be taken to get healthy seedlings during winter. The area required for raising nursery for hectare is only 100 square meters, which is 10 times lesser than the normal method. Seedling removal from SRI nursery. Actually, the merits of lower plant density have been known in Tamil Nadu for about a century. A report by the Royal Commission on Agriculture in India, published in 1928, states that 120,000 copies of a leaflet on single seedling method of paddy cultivation had been distributed in the Madras Presidency, which covered a huge area now subsumed within Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, and Karnataka states. So, at least 80 years ago, agricultural specialists in British India were already promoting single seedling rice planting. In 1911, several farmers published articles in Tamil language on single seedling planting was developed by one local farmer, while concurrently another farmer developed gaja planting with wider spacing. This gaja method employed inter-row spacing of 1.5 feet, that is 45 centimeters, with in-row spacing between single plants of 1 foot, 30 centimeters, resulting in a plant population of only 7 to 8 plants per square meter. Yield of 6,004 kilograms grain per hectare was obtained with gaja planting methods in Tanjavur district, which was 2.7 times more than obtained from the same field the previous year when using bunch planting. It is fascinating that such high yields were being obtained by farmers with their own innovations a century ago. when no chemical fertilizers were applied. Lesson 3. Water Management in SRI. Although it is generally assumed that rice requires an abundant supply of water, it can be cultivated with the same supply of water as other cereals, and the distinguishing feature lies in the fact that, unlike other cereals, it can tolerate standing water or swampy conditions for its growth. Rice is not an aquatic species and does not necessarily need to be grown under inundated conditions. But there are reports that reducing the degree of flooding in rice may reduce the grain yields, primarily due to changes in crop physiology and increased weed infestation. The physiological changes in the rice plants under SRI are not confined to water management, but are a result of the synergistic effect of all the practices followed, and hence comparison with flood irrigation alone is incorrect. SRI advocates growing plants with sufficient but never excess water so that the roots do not suffocate and degenerate, and the agronomic management aims at allowing a shallow irrigation of about 2.5 centimeters when previously irrigated water has completely disappeared. A kind of alternate wetting and drying management. Photo 2 and 3. Intermittent irrigation helps to increase the root activity, which is closely related to carbon assimilation. The intercultivation with weeder done 2 to 4 times in SRI will also help to aerate the soil. Increased water productivity to the extent of 54% due to water-saving irrigation in SRI has been reported. Table 3. Exposing the soil to the air is repeatedly done in the SRI irrigation practice prevents various diseases and root rot induced by the excessive reductive conditions of the soil. SRI practicing farmers feel that it also leads to loss of unfavorable gases from the soil, so this remains to be studied. Optimum oxidizing conditions, which characterize good soil conditions, could be achieved by intermittent irrigation. Table 3. Water saving and water productivity increase in SRI. Apart from getting higher yields and using less water with SRI water management, the benefits of fuel savings in pumping groundwater and in avoiding water conflicts among farmers relying on the same source of water should be considered. Thus far, SRI farmers using the recommended irrigation methods have not observed reduced grain yields. Instead, unflooded soil conditions appear to favor increases in grain yields. Lesson 4. Intercultivation with weeder. In describing the practices of stable and high-yielding rice cultivation, Matsushima, 1980, has stated that intertillage after rooting of the transplanted seedlings and the practice of removing the soil around the base of the plant hill by hand to make the hill spread out promote tillering. Matsushima found that it is difficult to conduct this practice due to labor shortage, but felt that his desire to mechanize this practice was not realized. Now, after 2 decades, his desire has been fulfilled in SRI, where a mechanical weeder is used 3 to 4 times in between hills, which not only incorporates the weeds but also does an intercultivation operation, which results in some earthing up action also. A sudden burst of tillering is always noticed after the weeder is used. The profuse tillering in SRI is mainly because of this intercultivation operation. SRI practicing farmers feel that the pruning of the roots by the weeder has similar influence like the pruning of the shoots of guava, grapes, mango, etc. The intercultivation also results in some earthing up effect and new roots formed above the original soil level because of this. Increase in yield due to weeder use was also recorded, showing significant positive effects of intercultivation, which actively aerates the soil and indicating that among the SRI principles, weeder use may be more important than some other SRI practices. A number of modifications have been made in the design of weeder used in SRI. See Photo 4. And many farmer innovations, Photo 5, have taken place. While marginal farmers engaged their own family labor in operating the weeder, medium and large farmers face labor problems. A power operated weeder is the most wanted one by these farmers, but its solution is still evading. Lesson 5: More organic nutrients in preference to mineral fertilizer. SRI does emphasize the importance of the soil organic matter content and of soil health. These soil characteristics will be improved by the use of organic manures, which, however, doesn't imply necessarily a complete elimination of chemical fertilizer. SRI does not emphasize organic nutrients to the exclusion of mineral fertilizer, but rather it emphasized organic fertilization in preference to mineral fertilizer. In Tamil Nadu, integrated nutrient management is recommended for SRI. Farmers who had forgotten about the use of organic manures are showing a renewed interest in them because of SRI. Applications of farmyard manure and other decomposed vegetative materials are obviously beneficial, since these enhance soil biota while improving soil structure as well as water absorption and retention. In Tamil Nadu, growing Gliricidia in bunds and fences is a recommendation that goes along with SRI, as this increases the ready availability of organic material at field level. Photo 6. Moreover, positive interactions between organic manures and chemical fertilizers are also well known. Advocating the use of organic materials of different sources to the extent this is profitable for farmers and beneficial for soil health and water quality, therefore, is just a common sense, since it broadens the number of options for farmers. Photo 7. The yield of 6 tons per hectare, recorded by the Tamil Nadu farmer about a century ago, even before the arrival of chemical fertilizers, shows that the yield potential of rice could be tapped by innovative agronomic practices.